So often learning is overlooked. It comes daily and sometimes with very little effort. I mean, have you ever thought what it would happen if one of our masters had not focused on their learning? Let's just look at the contributions of Leonardo da Vinci. How would our life be different without his focused contributions? So let's look at a couple of more examples. One of my favorite examples of a master is Steve Jobs. So he was born in 1955 and he was adopted, and he spent his whole life tinkering with equipment and technology and one thing after another. But did you know that he was a college dropout? Many people don't realize that. Of course, he started Apple, and we all know that, but he left Apple after a while. Soon, the company came back to him and they begged him to return to Apple because they were about to file bankruptcy. They were going to go under. And quietly he returned and he looked at their program and he said, wait, there were at that time 350 different products Apple was working on. Slowly and methodically he went through each one and he yay or nay to each product, until there were only 10 left. He removed 340 different products. Apple had become too diversified. They forgot that they'd forgotten their focus. They lost their focus. And because they had lost their focus, they lost their profitability. Let's look at a couple examples. Of course, we always say that there's a great explanation for Da Vinci or for Steve Jobs. It's because they have this great talent and they're brilliant. They are really smart. They have a great IQ, don't they? But let's look at an example. I love this. This comes from the book of Mastery by Robert Greene, and he talks about the comparison between the lives of Sir Francis Galton and his cousin Charles Darwin. So Galton was a very super genius, and he had a really high IQ, and his IQ was even considered to be higher than Darwin. But he was a boy wonder, and he was expected to have this great career and do wonderful things, but he never mastered anything. He was restless, and Darwin, by contrast, was highly celebrated. He was a superior scientist, one of the few who ever, always, and forever changed the view of our lives. Darwin himself said, "I'm a very ordinary boy, rather below the common standard of intellect. I have no great quickness of apprehension. My power to follow a long, purely abstract train of thought is very limited." However, he possessed something that his cousin lacked. Darwin, though, had something that most people don't possess. He had a great devotion and focus. He had an ability to really think. And at one time, though, he would look and he would spend hours just collecting biological specimens. However, his father was a doctor and wanted him to do the same, so he enrolled him into the University of Edinburgh. However, Darwin did not like it. He didn't enjoy it at all, and he dropped out. His father was sure that he would never become anything, and so then he decided that he would work at the church. Darwin was to prepare for this. However, at the time that he was studying to become a clergyman, one of his professors told him that the HMS Beagle was about to leave and sail around the world, and it needed a biologist. Of course, he was excited, and he took the job, despite what his father thought. He was very, very excited about the idea, and his passion for collecting things felt a perfect outlet. In South America, he collected the astounding array of specimens and fossils and bones. And I'm going to add, though, that life wasn't easy for him. He was very, very homesick, and he struggled immensely. He also did not take well to the ocean and the sway of the boat. But because he was so diligent, after 5 years, he returned to England, and he was able to study all of the specimens that he had collected, and therefore came upon his theory of evolution. He had an intense love and a connection to that subject. So we can look back through all of history, and we can see how we have great masters with youthful predilections and passion, and a chance encounter helps them to apply it, and they practice and they move faster, right? But do you think that this is genetic and inborn? I believe that when we look at the comparison between Charles Darwin and his cousin Francis Galton, we can see that this is not true. What we need is simply a focus. Let us focus on what we need to learn. Let us ask ourselves and ponder the questions. How can I be more focused in my learning? And what are my natural talents and abilities?